Hey everybody, Michael Snyder here, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is December 1st. Happy first day of meteorological winter here across the Pacific Northwest. And taking a look here at the Doppler radar, you can see Seattle, Burien, Federal Way, Tacoma here. Taking a look here closely at the Puget Sound area right here. I want to show you this interesting feature here. You can see as I put this into motion there. See this little bubbling up there across the area? That's a north cold wind moving across a relatively warm Puget Sound, picking up some moisture. Little Puget Sound effect snowfall was impacting West Seattle, Burien, down towards Normandy Park, Des Moines, and even probably Federal Way there. As we also brought some Pacific Ocean moisture in over the top of that, as well as another weak wave was moving by this morning. Put this into motion, and you can see this starting to come to an end from north to south here across the Puget Sound here. But we're continuing to get some snowfall out towards Graham, Enumclaw, and out towards North Bend, maybe Snoqualmie Pass as we go through this late morning here. So let's just take a look here at the visible, actually infrared satellite imagery here. You can see Friday's system already moving down across the Gulf of Alaska here. This is also going to tap some Arctic air off of British Columbia, keep us chilly here across Pacific Northwest. You can see the activity that was going on last night across some of the South Puget Sound and this morning here. Thunderstorm potential across the Oregon coast today with all this cumuliform clouds, all this Arctic air still moving off the coast of British Columbia back into Oregon and Northern California. Check out the frontal system driving down across California, going to bring some nice beneficial precipitation and some mountain snows to the Sierras here. Some snowfall continuing across portions of eastern Oregon, Idaho Panhandle, and western Montana today as well. Possible blowing snow out there also. Taking a look here, these winter weather advisories are going to be coming to an end from north to south as we go through the day today. You can see the Willamette Valley kind of left out. There was a special weather statement for the potential of seeing some snow flying, but not much in the way of accumulation. Of course, much different story for some of the higher terrain around the area. Some winter storm warnings still exist for portions of Idaho, especially the higher terrain, and northwest Montana as well, northeast Washington. Taking a look here, there is an avalanche warning out there for the Idaho Panhandle here, and this, you got to be careful really across the Washington Cascades, Oregon Cascades as well. Really, any higher terrain with decent snowfall amounts is going to be susceptible to avalanches already here on December 1st. But taking a closer look here, especially about 5,000 feet here in the backcountry, you can see weak snowpack structure has created dangerous avalanche conditions here. Human-triggered avalanches are very likely. Travel in avalanche terrain is not recommended there. So just a heads up. This is for western Montana here, including Helena there. The snow is going to be continuing on through this afternoon out there. And there's also the potential for some blowing and drifting snow as we go on in through this weekend. Now taking a look here down towards the Sierra Nevada here briefly, you can see Sierra travel forecast here all the way through December 4th. Heads up because travel could be difficult to impossible at times over some of the Sierra passes. Some big snowfall amounts coming across the area here. So heads up if you're traveling back and forth across the Sierras, you have family members down in that area. And down for our neighbors in Southern California here, it is a big deal when it rains down there, and you can see that. They have this highlighted graphic here down for the National Weather Service Los Angeles there, just that I'd show you some gusty winds and some good rainfall amounts, some snow above the higher elevations as well. Now taking a look here, this is the HER 3KM. Put this into motion. You see the snowfall is impacting portions of South Sound. Maybe a thunderstorm along the Oregon coast today. Strong frontal system is now driving down across the Bay Area through the Sierra Nevada here, impacting still the higher terrain in Montana, Idaho out there to the east. And as we go on in through today, you see that precip kind of ending from north to south across the area as the front pushes south there. Maybe you see a snow shower across the Willamette Valley today, but probably not much accumulation down there in the valley floor. Now taking a look at the European, last night's run, 06Z. Put this into motion. You can see it picked up that snowfall pretty well here, mainly Seattle south across the area, continuing it on through this afternoon for some of the mountains of Washington. Pretty good amounts still piling up there across Oregon as we get this cold air aloft, blasting into the Cascade Range here. Some nice orographic snowfall amounts there, and then you can see the frontal system also on the European here driving down across California, Nevada. And then here comes Friday's system late tonight, tomorrow morning. This will be coming down our coastline here. The European wants to start this as snow for some of the Puget Sound. It's going to be pretty marginal as far as temperatures are concerned. We'll see just how much we cool off and dry out here and see if we can get some evaporative cooling as this precip comes back in over the top of the region here. Saturday morning shown here. Then you can see the system kind of pivot down the coastline. It doesn't doesn't make much progress, it's not progressively moving across Pacific Northwest, it's going to march down towards the southern Oregon and northern California coastline here. Then it's going to eject back up northward here, and kind of a little interesting feature, might bring some light snow across the Willamette Valley, but better amounts again across the Sierra Nevada, Oregon Cascades as well, as we go into the future a little bit more there. And you can see Klamath Falls, Bend, Oregon might get some measurable snowfall out of this as well, as that system starts to kick some energy off towards Idaho and Montana on in through later this weekend. Now taking a look at the wrap. This is another high resolution model here. Picked up that snow coming across this morning briefly, a little bit too far south with it maybe. That kind of cuts off, like we said, from north to south across the region here. Continuing across the higher terrain of Idaho and Montana today through this afternoon and evening. So watch out. Wintry weather going to be impacting areas as you drive east through I-90 into eastern Washington, Idaho, and Montana this evening. And again, that cold air aloft shown here moving into the Cascades of Oregon, continuing to pile up the snow there. And as we go on into Friday morning, you'll see the precipitation from Friday's system start to impact the region here. The wrap wants to also start this off with snow for some of the Puget Sound as well. We'll continue to watch that. We'll look at this in some pretty extreme detail tomorrow morning. We'll be right on the cusp of this event there, and I'll probably be updating on Twitter during the day today to kind of see what's going on with this storm system here. It's going to be important to see how much we cool down, and if any cooler air is going to make its way into the region, and we can get some accumulating snowfalls lower in the lower elevations or across western Washington. Friday's event. Taking a look here, this is the European high resolution model here. Let's back up there and let's go ahead through the temperatures. You can see we don't warm up that much today, maybe mid 30s there as we go through the afternoon. We cool off pretty well as we go through tonight into tomorrow morning. That's a pretty hard freeze. All the snow and slush you see across the roadways are going to freeze all the way down through Portland there and some of the Willamette Valley as well. Look at Wenatchee, Yakima, Kennewick, Walla Walla, Spokane down to 10. Look it up into British Columbia, some below zero temperatures possible. Abbotsford in the teens as well. Vancouver, BC, 21 there. And then as we go on into Friday, you'll see the warm-up kind of occur during the morning, but if the precipitation rates are a little bit better, that'll keep it closer to freezing here, but it's still going to be a pretty marginal event. It's probably not going to be, ice blocks on the roadway or anything like that with the snow that comes in on Friday, probably the wet, sloppy snowfall that we've been seeing across much of the area. And we warm up on in through Friday afternoon. Looks like some upper 30s across the area, maybe some 40s across the Willamette Valley here. And as we go on into Saturday, we're getting into the low 40s maybe, but we're still not warming up that much with some cooler air still around. Some overnight freezing, refreezing of all that moisture is possible. And of course, when you go Cascades eastbound, you're going to be much colder. As you can see, Spokane down towards 10 degrees some of these late nights, early mornings here across the eastern Washington, eastern Oregon. Now taking a quick look at Oregon here. Actually, let's not do that. Let's just go ahead and click through here, and you can see these very cold temperatures east of the mountains there and possible refreezing overnight for some portions of the Willamette Valley here as we go on in through Saturday morning there, Sunday morning possibly as well too. So just heads up for that when you wake up early morning and overnight hours. This is the European last night's run. You can see it picked up some of the snowfall amounts. I got about half an inch, maybe an inch of new snow here as we went through this morning. Better amounts to the south, Cascades of Washington there. And of course, the snow still piling up across Oregon as we go through the afternoon today. And as we go a little bit into Friday here, you can see that additional snowfall for some of western Washington here. Then the storm system is going to drop down across Oregon there, and watch it pivot some of this activity back north again there. Even calling for some more through eastern Oregon here, maybe a little bit more, extending all the way up towards Washington. The European's been doing pretty good. That's why it is the king, and it's been picking up some of these little subtle features here pretty well. So, disagree with the Euro at your own peril. Now taking a look here, this is BC, Washington, Oregon here. This is that troughing that's bringing that light snowfall south Puget Sound down through the Oregon Cascades today, and this is moving on through Idaho and Montana this evening. Kind of keeps open here across Pacific Northwest as we go through this morning, but then starts to cut off. And here goes Friday's system here, and you can see the, modified Arctic air, but it is Arctic air moving down through BC here as we go into Friday afternoon, and that next storm system kind of slides down the coastline here, then moves inland across southern Oregon, northern California here, and pivots back across into Idaho and Montana here later this weekend. Now taking a look here, this is 850 millibars. This shows this Arctic air we've been dealing with here coming up with the Pacific Ocean here and bringing the snow back into the Pacific Northwest, especially for the higher terrain. Now, you can see Friday's system here is tapping some of this Arctic air as well for the Yukon and the British Columbia area, moving back out of the Pacific Ocean. So it doesn't have that Arctic air tap to it, but it's just not that progressive. So the track of this Arctic air is very long, very elongated over water before it comes back into the Pacific Northwest. So it's going to be tough for this to be a significant snowfall event, probably across the Puget Sound here as we go through Friday, but we could see some accumulating snowfalls. And again, we'll try to watch that closely here through today and on through tonight. And then again, like I said, this pivots down across southern Oregon and brings some precipitation, maybe in the form of snow, especially for the higher terrain of Oregon here, maybe even towards Washington, and then it moves through onto the east this weekend. Now, taking a look here, this is the 1.33 kilometer high resolution model here, the UW. This is last night's run here. So let's put this into motion here and just let it fly through here. It didn't really do a very good job picking up that precipitation amount, the snowfall amount that came through the South Sound this morning, as you can see. But it does show that Friday system bringing some precipitation in the form of snow. Looks like mainly Puget Sound, the Seattle North, Puget Sound area up towards Everett, maybe would be getting a little bit out of that. But this is last night's run, and each one of these model runs has been changing quite a bit as far as snowfall amounts. So let's do this. We don't have the morning's run of the 1.33 kilometer in yet, but we do have some of it for the 4 kilometer run here. Let's click update and get the most recent information here. And now you can see it picked up that snowfall fairly well when it ran the model this morning here across the South Sound. And then you can see that kind of moving down south. You can see some pretty good amounts coming across the Oregon Cascades. Again, like I mentioned, off to the east, Idaho, Montana. And then here comes Friday's system. Let's see it coming down the area here, and you can see it starting to spread some snowfall back up over the region again. And look at this, it's it's starting to bring some pretty good amounts here on this latest run here on through some of the Seattle area, even up towards north towards Everett again, and even in the South Sound there, picking up over a couple inches again with that Friday system. It's going to be marginal, it's going to be wet and sloppy most likely, but you could see some accumulating snowfall with this system on Friday. And why don't we go ahead and do this? I'm going to back up a little bit here, and we're going to go to Washington accumulated snowfall, and this is the most recent here. Let's let this play. There goes that snowfall this morning, because we want to see what's coming Friday, a little bit more detail here for the Puget Sound. So here we go with Friday's system. You can see that snowfall coming in here, and here we go. You can see some of that accumulating across the Seattle area down towards Burien, even Tacoma, Olympia there, up towards Everett a little bit here. So yeah, there is a possibility for some wet snowfall accumulation here as we go through Friday into Friday night. So we'll have to watch that closely. Now let's take a look at the European on the left versus the GFS on the right here. Of course, we've got everything lined up right now. You can see that polar lobe that's been impacting us kick off to the east. And then Friday's system kind of takes its track off the coastline here, hangs out in Northern California, then pivots across the area that could spread that snowfall back up north across Oregon into South Washington there. And this polar lobe was trying to take a swipe at us here. Might bring a little bit more Arctic air into BC. Probably not a big deal here for Washington or Oregon. Not a big snowfall maker there for the lowlands. And then you can see the European wants to get active again with some polar lobes and start to bring some Pacific systems back into the area here. A little bit of difference between the European and the GFS, but I have much more confidence in what the European says at this point. It's been performing quite well as we've been going through here. Now taking a look here, avalanche zones. You can see there is some considerable avalanche danger. Heads up if you're traveling out there to go see the snowfall out in the Cascades of Washington. It includes Mount Hood, and of course this places off east, northeast Washington, Idaho, Montana. You saw those avalanche warnings out there as well. So just heads up here. And if you want to go to this page, the Northwest Avalanche Center, and click on these individual locations, it gives you extreme detail. They've got snow reports, all kinds of good stuff going on there. Freezing levels, you name it, they got it. This is the drought monitor too. This actually came out today, and you can see we're still in some moderate drought here in western Washington. We're just not quite as wet as we typically are this time of year, but really the concerning drought here still exists for portions of the eastern slopes of the Cascades of Oregon, so maybe some of that snowfall will work its way up as the system moves through and brings some meaningful snowpack out to that area there. They could use it. Now taking a look, experimental National Weather Service, look at things here. Slight, December 8th through the 12th. Look at this. We're picking up on those Pacific storms that the Europeans kind of showing there, moving back into the region here as we go through early and mid-December. Here we go for some snowfall across the Cascades, Washington, Oregon, down to this Sierra Nevada, maybe there too. Just an experimental product here, just kind of a first look out into the extended forecast here, and actually calling for the risk of high winds here all the way down towards the Bay Area here as well, which is pretty typical in the normal Pacific storm pattern here that we get across the Pacific Northwest. So this is just kind of taking a peek out into the extended there. So yeah, anyway, it was pretty fun down here this morning. Picked up maybe a new inch of snow. It stuck on the roads a little bit, mostly on the grassy surfaces and everything else, trees, you know, the deck, people's roofs. But here goes Friday's system here, and you saw that recent UW model. And in fact, I want to show that again, because let's see if we can update and get a little bit more data out of this here. Let's go ahead and F5 and refresh. Let this play through here. And that was this morning's snowfall there. It at least showed some of it. Now we go through Friday here. Let's see how much more data we got here. So here we go through. This is a Friday night now, and you can see some of that snowfall accumulating across the region here. That's not bad, but I wonder about this. You know, I wonder how much of this will actually stick down to sea level, but it is showing some accumulating snowfall there. So anyway, that's what's coming up, folks. And yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and watch this as it comes in tonight. If it looks like it's trending upwards at all through tonight, I'll probably do another live stream tonight, or maybe even another video, and we'll talk about it a bit. But you can see it here. Here goes Friday's system there. Cold air moving into Oregon as we speak. Frontal system driving down through California. So yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. You know, the live streams are pretty fun. Thanks for everybody stopping by here. Working on getting a new computer here, so this thing seems like it's on the last legs, or something's going on with it. So I'm got one on order here. So if you guys hear that fan in the background, that's just the computer going nuts. So anyway, we'll do this again tomorrow morning for sure. And if it looks like it's trending upwards, we'll do another live stream tonight or another video tonight talking about Friday's system here. And, you know, looks like it's going to be a fun winter here. I expect we're going to flirt with some Arctic air, probably at least a time or two again here. We have December, January, and February to go, and sometimes we can get snow in March as well here across the Pacific Northwest. So I'm looking forward to a fun winter here coming up, and the channel's growing nicely. We're getting a tight-knit community here on Pacific Northwest Weather Watch page. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it too, and I'll talk to you either later today or tomorrow morning.